lot. I know Jesse from the School of the Art Institute. We were in the MFA writing program together. I worked with him editing a short mystery series for F News magazine, SAIC's school newspaper. And he wrote a series that ran like successive issues. It was gorgeous. It was quite popular. People liked it, and people on campus knew it. I was struck by his energy, his adaptability, his willingness to listen to feedback, which is not often the case with some artists. And he was really good at integrating all of that into successive drafts, and that was impressive. Over time, that relationship, I was glad it just became a personal friendship and has lasted. And in moments of difficulty in the road to publication, I've always been able to count on Jesse. So reminding why it is we write. So I'm very, very happy to be here, as I'm sure many of you all are, to support Jesse and everything he's done. This event represents the birth of something very special. It doesn't come along twice. A debut novel. And in this case, it's from a good friend and a remarkable writer. Jesse was raised in Pittsburgh by public school educators who are here today, Sheila and David. Welcome to Chicago. He was taught the importance and magic and power of stories. He began as a songwriter and musician, but eventually found his true calling, fiction, after taking a creative writing course at Temple University in Philadelphia. Children of Mandrake represents the culmination of many strands of Jesse's life. Written during the height of the pandemic, it became a lifeboat for him, another world to shape and make sense of when everything else was falling apart. I want to share what Kirkus Reviews had to say about Children of Mandrake. An engaging, original tale for those looking for elaborate world building in their fantasy fiction. That's absolutely massive to have Kirkus Reviews saying that. Kirkus Reviews is what goes out across the nation, so that's a great review that you scored. I'd also like to briefly quote from Midwest Book Review. Children of Mandrake's rich synthesis of ecological and personal connections makes it a top recommendation for those interested in coming-of-age fantasy. It weaves together elements of social and ecological consciousness, detective work, epic adventure, and magic. So, those of you who haven't got your copies, you're in for a real treat. I already pre-ordered mine, but having already started reading it, I realized I need a few more to give to friends. So you don't have to buy just one today. Tonight, Jesse will perform a reading, and there'll be a brief Q&A after. Hopefully a few of you had a chance to write down your questions. There will also be a book signing by both the author and the illustrator, so look forward to that as well. And you'll have your chance to purchase your own copy, along with full-size prints of the illustrations. As you all know, margins are shrinking every year in books. For independent authors, every sale and every post, social media post counts. So, please support Jesse. And I know that there's many readers who will relish the world he's created. So let's make sure they get to encounter the characters and encounter Jesse. So please join us in supporting his novel by sending out any social media posts, and also leaving reviews. Reviews matter immensely. You may think that, I'll just put 5 stars. No, put a review as well. It really matters. Without further ado, please help me welcome Jesse Stein, author of Children.
Hey everybody, how we doing?
Hey Jesse. Hey.
So happy that everybody's here. I'm going to read a speech that I wrote. This is a moment that every writer dreams about. To celebrate your first book, surrounded by friends and family, wearing a vintage blazer. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to my friend Raghav for years of support and for speaking for me tonight. Thank you to my family for coming all the way from Pittsburgh and running around all day, helping me to get this whole event, moving. Thank you for teaching me how to move and feel my way through the world. Thank you to Bridgewater Studios for making this podium. And thank you to my partner and illustrator, the lovely Sancho. None of this would be as beautiful without you. Children of Mandrake is a novel about identity. Who are we? Who do we want to be? And who does the world want us to be? For our main characters, Truman and Donna, this question sends them on a grand quest that shows them that only they are in charge of who they are. And what they are is never only one thing. No one is singular. This chapter I chose to read tonight is one that is very dear to me. It's a dream that forces Donna to confront the world and what it wants from her. Tonight, I'm going to ask for some audience participation. Is that okay?
Yeah!
So this is what's going to happen. You're going to see this image above you. And at certain times, there will be words that appear on the screen. And I'm going to ask everybody in the audience to shout, whisper, snarl the words, whatever you feel comfortable with, as I go. So let's do a practice run. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever words appear on the screen, you're all going to shout them.
Cannoli!
We don't even have to do that again. That was beautiful. Okay. So let's get started then. This is chapter 8, Donna's Dream. I know this isn't real because the sun's burning my eyes out. And I know this isn't real, but I can feel the sweat turning to beads, skirting across the hairs on my mouth. I know this isn't real, but I can smell marigolds and magnolia stems and bulrush and cinnamon, and underneath it all something toxic and industrial, salt, sulfur, and sunflower. I know this isn't real, but I'm standing in the sun, and the birds are calling in their flocks above me. I look up and listen. They're shouting.
Daylight, daylight, daylight!
As if they were dreaming just like I was. As if they needed to hear the word again and again just to remember the way it filled up their mouths before they sent it back to the wind. As if they were saying it just for me, just to see if I was feeling what they were feeling. As if they knew I was having trouble myself, eyes wheezing to adjust to these colors born from this daylight. The purple pinks, the sheeny golds, the blueberry pepper reds. Not even on a Thursday have I seen such sights. Not even in all the stories I've heard and heard again and memorized and retold and made up and used to try to make sense of everything have I seen anything like this. And it begs a question, a big one. But I'm not going to ask it because I'm standing in the daylight, me and the birds, and I shout back. I shout, daylight, daylight, daylight. So they know that I'm here. I'm seeing all this too. I'm just as confused as they are, but I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to stand in the sun for as long as I can. Then I hear something from far off. It's not the birds, it's a voice shouting.
Show yourself!
And I know that voice, but it's so far away, and I look to see if I can see where it's coming from, and I see something. Something outside of the daylight, way outside, some kind of structure surrounded by black water, burning the daylight down to plumes. And I figure that's where the sulfur's coming from, and I figure that's right where I am, and I won't have to smell what that thing's spewing more than I have to. So I close my eyes, and I see all red, and the grasses come up against my back and wring the knots out of my hair, and the water slaps at the shore. But I hear that voice again, and it boomerangs around the skies, shouting like it's in some kind of hurry.
Show yourself!
I know that voice, but I don't think it's talking to me. I'm not hiding anyways. I'm letting the daylight rouge my cheeks, and I'm kicking off my galoshes and rubbing my ankles against warm sand, and this is mine. It's something I just know. This comfort and these colors, and those birds and this sand, and I can tune it to my pleasing. I can turn the heat up like a furnace. I can stretch out the grass and wear it like a leotard. I can push and pull the waters, and I can bend those birds in the sky into shapes. I open my eyes and everything sparkles and I shout, "Daylight!" And I've never felt so strong in my feet. I've never felt so boundless. I've never felt like the treetops weren't so high up after all, like the wind wasn't something I couldn't drift on. And it begs a question. And I look over my shoulder and there's that black water and that structure spewing out smoke and smells, and maybe it's a little bit closer than it was before. Maybe it is, but it isn't close enough to worry about. And if it does get close enough to worry about it, I'll worry about it. And I'm feeling like I'm someone that people wouldn't want to be worried, because I can tune it to my liking. And I like that feeling because I've never had it before. All I've ever had was what she gave me and what she didn't. And all that ever gave me was the feeling that I wasn't meant to be anywhere or around anybody. And I look at the black water out there and the smoke, and I wonder if that's how everyone sees me, as something to move away from. And it makes me want to move closer because that's what I've always wanted, just for someone to move closer.
Show yourself.
As if I didn't hear it right the first 2 times. Show myself. To whom? Is that the question that's been begging? I close my eyes and I see all red. And I bring the grasses high around my body and knot them tight around my shoulders. And I gather the hot sand and grind it into my rouged cheeks, and everything is all right. My foot falls into the sand. I open my eyes against that spectacular light and look down at my foot like it isn't mine, because that's how it feels. Suddenly, I can't wiggle my toes or roll my foot around my ankle. Suddenly, it's got a life of its own. Suddenly, my foot decides it's had enough of my company and starts yanking me towards the water, yanking hard. Yanking like my weight is an inconsequential thing, like I wasn't the one bending the birds or sizing down the trees or wrapping the grasses tightly around my chin just a moment ago. I turn over on my stomach and dig my nails into the sand, scrambling for something solid to hold on to, but this sand is smooth like velvet. I try to remember what I did to feel so boundless, but I'm being dragged too fast, and I'm kicking at my foot with my other foot, and the birds are shouting,
Daylight, daylight, daylight.
and my foot dives into the water and tries to take me down with it. But I see something just over there, my pontoon just bobbing not 10 feet away, like it had been waiting for me this whole time. And I know that this isn't how I'm going down, not in a dream, not drowned by my own right foot. So I scream, daylight, 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 and beat against the waters and kick with my left leg and inch towards my pontoon while the sky spins counterclockwise above me, and the grasses burrow deep into the soil, and the trees broaden against the wind and grow until they're too strong to be bothered by me or anything else so inconsequential, and the water darkens until my skin is stained, and all I can see is the world reflected in its oily sheen. By the time I pull myself up on the boat, the light is still there, but all the heat's been drained out of it. The sky is empty of birds. I can feel my right foot like it's mine again, and I hug my knees and shiver while the dark water drips from my hair and forms a puddle around me. And I think daylight, but the light is hollow. And I think, where's Truman? And the pontoon's engine turns over on its own, and I'm shivering too hard to get up and stop the boat from taking us where it's taking us. I slick my hair back and rest my chin on my knees, and I see the structure moving slowly towards us, and it begs a question. I know this isn't real, because the sky is red as the inside of my eyes when I close them in the sunlight. I know this isn't real because the sky is red and my pontoon is moving, but it's not really going anywhere. I know this isn't real because it feels like my pontoon is staying still while the rest of the world moves around it, and the world is bringing that structure way out there closer to me, little by little. And the closer I get, the darker the waters get. And the closer I get, the redder the sky turns, and I'm looking at it, just looking at it. My hair is long now, and instead of curling outwards, it cascades, all loose and decadent, down across my toes and swizzles in the wind, and it's soft against my cheeks, soft like melted butter, soft like it's never been before, and it cups my face and my waist and my knees, and it says,
Daughter, daughter, daughter.
I brush the hair away from my face, but it comes back and holds me even tighter, and it says,
Daughter, daughter, daughter.
My pontoon grinds to a stop, or the world does. A lock of hair twists away from me and reaches up, pulling me onto the roof. There's nothing but red above me, Nothing but red as far as the eye can see. All the trees, the riverbank, the honking birds, the structure in the distance, wiped clean for this red canvas. My hair sits me down and pulls my legs out and pinches my ear, and I can't see myself, but I figure I must look like a baby swaddled in a red quilt. Hold up.
Daughter, daughter, daughter.
And in that red sky, the light grows on the left. Not from the sun, from something else, something that's actually in the sky. The light is as soft as my hair, just floating there, turning like a snake, and my hair is rocking me from side to side, covering everything but my eyes and the tip of my nose. And the soft light shrinks when I breathe in, grows when I breathe out. And on the right, darkness grows. And it grows and shrinks with my breathing, and I'm looking up as I'm being rocked. And I wonder if I can get the two to touch. I blow out all the air I can through my nose, and my hair prickles. And the light on the left and the dark on the right run at each other. And when they meet, the air turns electric and cracks with blue lightning, and when the rain starts. Did I make it rain? Is that something I can do now?
Daughter, daughter, daughter.
From the flash, something else comes. The color on the canvas bleeds out. And even though I'm swaddled on the roof of my pontoon, I'm really 1,000 feet above the river. I can see the useless shape of it, the circle that feeds nothing and is fed by nothing. And I'm watching as the clouds drip out in a hot mist. It's too high to feel the wind, but I can hear it rattling the trees below me. And I can hear a cow bracing against the debris. And that voice comes back, that familiar voice. It says,
Prove it.
Prove it. I think, prove what? Where's Truman? He better go get his cow. And the red comes back. It covers the clouds. It cuts through the wind and the sound beneath me. And in the red, I see two people. They look tired and young. And they talk without speaking. They touch each other gently, lovingly. I gag. And their fingers turn to snakes. And the snakes writhe and tangle and wrap around their ankles and their knees and their hips and keep on wrapping until there is only one snake flaring its nostrils and blending in with the red canvas.
Daughter, daughter, daughter.
I rake my hair from my eyes and pry it out of my mouth, but no matter how much I pull, there's always more, wedged between my molars or curling between my eyelashes. When the lightning cracks again, I can feel the heat of it on my face. If I could use my arms, I'd check to see if I still had my eyebrows. The air is bristled and pasty and smells like pickled onions.
Prove it.
What do you want me to prove? The snake raises its head back all the way back until it's near upside down, and I can see the yellow seams on its belly begin to split in two. As the tear grows, the heat boils the rain back into clouds, and a drip of yellow light falls from the snake, and I'm falling too. And I'm watching the yellow light tumble, and I think, daughter, daughter, daughter. And each time I think that word, a vein of blue forms in the yellow until it's as green as anything, and I watch it fall into the river. And the river flashes green as anything, for just a moment before the black takes it back over. I scrape my knees on the roof of the pontoon. My hair is back to the way I like it, out of my face and growing sideways. I'm close enough to that structure to figure out what it is, what it must be. It's an oil rig. I knew it, and it begs a question. I know this isn't real. I just know it like I know when Aunt Ginny's about to burn the garlic bread. It's a tingle in the skin between my eyebrows. It's something I can't help but know. She's off in the living room tinkering, and I'm all the way out on the front porch, and I just know it. And I yell, Aunt Gin, the bread! She always burns it anyways. And that's how I feel on this pontoon right now. Like I know something's about to be burned, but it's still going to be burned no matter what I say. I cup my cheeks and look out across the black water. It's getting choppy. Sounds like someone's tied to the side and smacking the hole with a belt. Someone's digging their nails deep into the bottom of my pontoon and making their way to the front. They're popping their head above the water and taking a much-needed breath. They're pulling themselves up over the railing and wringing the black water out of their hair.
Death, death, death.
I can't do anything but look at her. I don't want to look at her. I don't want to be here. But my feet don't belong to me anymore, and I can't find them anyways. They've disappeared, My legs go straight through the pontoon, and I'm looking at her shake the wet from her beautiful hair. And she's so young, and her eyes are so black, and her nose is turned up, not like it is now, weighed down by time and smelling for when the oven's done. She has a lot of teeth. She's smiling or showing me her teeth, beckoning with a speckled tongue that looks like it could wrap around her head once or 3 times. And I don't have any feet, but I'm moving towards her teeth. We're surrounded by trees, the live oaks. They knot and whisper as they gather around us. They whisper.
Death, death, death.
They whisper and they stretch over our heads so that the only sky I can see is defined by the flexing arms. And there she is, and there I am, and she looks at me like she's got something to prove. That voice comes back, that familiar voice. It says,
You were there.
It sounds hopeful in a scared way. I think, where's Truman? Why can't I find him? The live oaks shiver and blot out the sky. We're hidden from the world, from anyone that would come looking. She holds her arms in a cradle, but there's nothing there, nothing I can see at least. She rocks her arms back and forth and coos through her teeth and raises a foot in the air. She's pointing at the feet I don't have. And I look down at the hole that's been dug in the ground. It goes on forever. Clusters of fireflies hover along its walls, and it goes on forever.
Death, death, death.
She points and nods her head, and I nod my head back because that's what I've always done. I watch myself sink into the hole. I'm nodding my head and I look happy in the light of the fireflies. I watch as the walls narrow and narrow against my shoulders. I watch as my feet hit clay, red and heat ardent.
You were there.
I watch the hole close, and her feet sink back to the earth. Her arms are empty, and her nose is turned down, and she widens her eyes and the live oaks back off so I can see the sky again, red again. And she leads me back to the pontoon, swinging her hips from side to side, and I try and mirror the way she walks because that's what I've always done. I can see the bare backs of her shoulders and the stretch marks that always reminded me of wood grain. I've never seen her as a person. I've always seen her as something more permanent. And I think,
Death, death, death.
we're on the boat. The world shuffles past us. Her back is to me. Her eyes are downstream at the oil rig that's grown so close. I can see orange-paneled boats careening back and forth, faceless men in orange vests wandering around the steaming pipes. And the sulfur is enough to make me cover my nose. It's enough to make me want to jump in the water and swim for shore. She clicks her tongue and turns to face me, and she says,
Death, death, death.
and she smiles. She's not just showing me her teeth this time, she's smiling at me like I'm the only thing she ever asked for in life, and I arrived right on time. An arm emerges from the folds of her hair, and she widens her fingers to place them flat on the floor of the boat, still smiling at me.
You were there.
But where were you? I think. I think death, 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 and she nods her head at me again and tightens the skin around her eyes, and I nod back, and she takes a deep breath, and I take a deep breath, and she turns her fingers to blades and rips a hole right through my pontoon, and the black water bubbles up around my ankles, and it's got this slick sheen to it, a film or something that shimmers in rainbow colors when any light hits it. I look up and she's gone. I look down and the water's at my knees and it's cold enough to sting. I look up and I'm under it, below the black and the water weeds, below the black with the water weeds and the mosquito fish. And I hook my hair behind my ears to try and stop it from floating in my face, and it begs a question. I know this isn't real, but whether I know it or not doesn't seem to matter. I've got no one to convince that it's not real. I know it isn't real, and I'm the only one who's ever going to know. But the snakes wrapping themselves around my legs aren't concerned with who knows what. The slimy snakes working their bodies between my toes and curling up to my knees don't have a thing to prove, and anyways, there's no snakes in Mandrake. Never has been. This isn't real. I've never even seen a snake in person. All I've seen are televised snakes through the windows of my neighbors. I didn't know they were so soft. I didn't know how gentle they were. I'm underwater, but I'm breathing okay, or maybe I've lost the need to breathe. Either way, something about being down here is sitting right with me. Everything you carry floats off your back when you're underwater. Everything that's too loud is too far away to hear. And if you've got an army of snakes to keep you warm and safe. I'm feeling like I was specially designed for this, like these snakes were. I'm feeling like my feet weren't always just feet. Everything down here is green. Everything's coated in muck. Everything's rounded and soft, and my snakes are carrying me through the water. Feels like I'm going downstream to where the oil rig is, but I can't be sure. Can't be sure of anything anymore. One of the snakes climbs around my waist and up over my shoulder and nuzzles my ear. It says,
Deliver, deliver, deliver.
And we pick up the pace. And I don't want to talk because even though I like it down here, I'm not sure how talking through water works. And I don't know what I'd say even if I did. Maybe I'd say, deliver what? To whom? Maybe I'd ask, where's the package? Am I the package? But I don't. It feels too good with the water breezing past my face and the snakes keeping me warm and secure. And I feel like how I felt at the beginning of all of this. I feel like I could split this water in two if I wanted and bring it back together just for fun. Like I could cut through the earth and make a new river and name it after me. I feel like I could send these snakes out to do my bidding. Like I could have them fold my laundry or use them like extra fingers and eyes. And it begs a question. And I want to feel this way all the time. I want to feel like nothing can stop me. I want to feel like I'm in charge, like there's nowhere I can't go. But I've only ever gone to places I've been told to. And I've only ever made decisions from a list that I didn't write. And we stop. And my fingers and eyes leave me in a flurry of scales and bubbles, and I'm floating, rubbing my arms to keep the heat in, thinking about how there's something that keeps taking this feeling away from me, something luring me in with what I've always wanted to be mine, and then taking it away as soon as I get a taste for it. And I feel ensnared like those herons at Buford's, and I'm waiting for the bite. And that voice comes back, that familiar voice. It says,
Batman.
and I think, where's Truman? Is he hurt? Does he need me? Yellow light falls through the water and drips. Yellow veined with blue. It lights up rusted beams, thicker than me, as thick as anything. It lights up something else too, a body, a man, trailing blood in a thick mist and sinking down towards me. He has long curly hair and a shiny orange vest, and his eyes are green.
Deliver, deliver, deliver.
Does this feel like church, or are we He floats to me, and I see myself in his green eyes, his dead eyes. I raise my hand, and he floats to me as if I'd called him there. His chin lifts, and I press my thumb into its middle, the way Aunt Ginny's always done to me. And I think, deliver, deliver, deliver. He jerks, he blinks, he snatches my wrist, and I shout, deliver, deliver, deliver. But I'm underwater, and I don't think he can understand me. My fingers and eyes come back to me, enshroud me in slick warmth, and they pry his grip from my wrist, and they carry him far away out of the blue-veined yellow, and I look at my hands and wonder at their power, wonder at what I've just done to this man, this dead man with green eyes and long curly hair.
Batman.
And what should I do about that? What exactly am I supposed to do? What exactly am I? What exactly? What am I for? I know this isn't real, I shout. I know this isn't real. I shout to nothing, because there's nothing, nothing around me to look at, nothing at all. No red sky, no velvet sand, no barking birds, no her, no dead man with green eyes. It's just me, dripping through my red rayon jacket, feet resting on nothing, eyes looking at nothing, just me. I know this isn't real, I shout, and I sit down, hug my knees to my chest like I've seen Truman do so many times when he wanted to make himself smaller. That's all he's ever wanted to be since I've known him, smaller. Out of the way, out of the rain. All I've ever wanted was to be too big to hide from, too big to be bothered, and somehow the two of us got twisted together. Twisted up and pressed like copper wiring, like the trees that tangled our roots with other trees, but we never had a say in any of it. We didn't ask to be born in that town where no one is born. We were never anything except pieces waiting to be moved.
Divide, divide, divide.
Words again. They're not coming from a flock of birds or my hair or an army of snakes. There's nothing here. The words are coming from nothing. And I rise to my feet because I've heard plenty of words lately, and I'm getting tired of hearing them, frankly.
Divide, divide, divide.
This isn't real, I scream. And above me, the nothing splits in two, and a pillar of blue-veined yellow grows from the space between. And from the pillar, there's a sound like breathless humming in a long, dark tunnel. I roll my eyes. I know what I need to do. I start walking at it. Long strides. My legs lift up and stretch out 10 feet in front of me. And the blue vein yellow gets closer. And the breathless humming gets louder. And it sounds like I'm getting pressed between a pair of wooden lips. And it sounds like it's getting pressed between a pair of wooden lips. And I stretch my legs further and further, and I stop. And the pillar of light is scattered with dust. And it's hot. Too hot to touch. And I hear a voice, that familiar voice. It says,
I don't know you.
and it's Truman's voice. That familiar voice. Truman all along from a world away. What's he doing? Who is he talking to? The humming grows louder and it wraps itself around me, and I let my body fall limp because that's all I can do. That's all it wants me to do, and anything's better than standing around in this nothing, with nothing but my desires to keep me company.
I don't know you.
Truman says, the last thing I hear before I'm pulled through the light. I'm standing in the water. It's deep, but my feet only sink down to the ankles. Behind me is home, the borders of all I've ever known. Before me, the water doesn't end. It rattles, it snaps, it's cold and black, it's waiting. Before me, the water splits like my veins, and the breathless humming rises from it, rises to the sky, red again. It doesn't sound familiar, but it sounds like something I'll hear one day. And I'm not scared, I'm really not. I'm feeling like there's something I need to do, something that I've always needed to do, and I think divide, 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 and here it comes. What comes next? What was always coming? Aunt Ginny's cinnamon tree, dead except for one branch, all cocked to the side with 2 flowers blooming despite it all. It's risen from the water, this split tree, and I can see the seam where it was split. I can see the pieces that could be placed together. I can see it right in front of me, begging a question.
Divide, divide, divide.
The words ripple the waters, ripple the red sky, and the ripples come from the cinnamon tree. And as I approach, the ripples grow into waves. I run the backs of my fingers against the blossoms, catch the dew that they've stored, catch the sharpened spice, and I take the tree in my hands, and all it takes is a push, a gentle suggestion, and it comes back together as if it had never been split in the first place. We'll edit that out. And the waves freeze in the race, and the red sky lowers until it scratches my head, and the breathless humming quiets, and I squint my ears to listen, to try and find where it's been coming from, and my feet fall through the water, and I'm falling.
I don't know you.
Truman says as I cut through the air. Of course you know me, I think. You're the only one who's ever cared to try. You're the only one that's ever cared. Fireflies hover in clusters along the walls, and in their light I can see the world. I can see Mandrake. It's flooded. Water is over most of the houses except for Aunt Ginny's roof peeking out from the surface. The sun's reflection pierces off the tin. I can see the Hojo River where it used to be. The whole length of it crinkled and curling around its massive circle. The water's gone. Herons peck for bugs in the mud. The sun bleaches their wings. I can see a man, young and beautiful, crouching down next to me and pointing out across it all, the world, grinning in blinding sunlight, and he's giving it all away. He's giving me the world. I'm laughing. I can see a woman, her bones kicking off dust in the sun's heat, her teeth festering and green, her wings, the last part of her to lose their color. I'm crying. I can see colors I've never seen before, seeping through the bottom of this hole, blinding me in their radiance, reaching out for me. I fall into them.
I don't know you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sweating. But we can do a quick Q&A, and after the Q&A, we'll